grandma has this dress.
No, neither.
I feel like Harry Potter. Too librarian. Too Bono?
No.
No. No. Big no.
Yes.
I look a little bit like a bumblebee. How long you been in these parts?
Blah. If sadness had a color. I bought this? Your Honor, I object.
No. This is so much like my dad.
That is the ticket.
Support for KQED Live comes from Berkeley Rep and the San Francisco Symphony.
Disproportionate impact of
more than half of Black business owners.
And disproportionate.
How we always find a way to rise.
To the blueprint builders, to the backbones of every block, for the curators of the culture, and for generations to follow. You might fall, but never fail. Keep rising. Keep rising. Keep rising. Apply for business, marketing, and tech makeovers on us.
Hello, boba lovers. All right, my name is Lance Gardner. I'm a producer here at KQED Live. KQED Live is the events arm of KQED Public Media, and we put on all kinds of exciting live programming for you here at 2601 Mariposa in San Francisco and online at youtube.com/KQED Live. I'm so happy that you have joined us, that we have a sold-out house here for Bay Area Boba, and you're in for a real treat. But none of this would be possible without our amazing season sponsors. We have 4 season sponsors who make it possible for us to continue to put on programming like this that informs, inspires, and involves people like you here and afar. And the 4 sponsors for this season are Asian Art Museum, Berkeley Rep, Comcast Business, and the SF Symphony. So let's have a round of applause for our sponsors. So like I said, you're in for a treat. We have some boba history, some boba trivia, some craft boba explanation, a demonstration, some samples for you here in the house. And at the end of the night, everybody will get some delicious full drinks out in the lobby. So you came to the right place if you're into this kind of thing. We're starting a couple minutes late, so I don't want to be up here anymore. I'm going to hand it over to our hosts, Cecilia Phillips and Luke Tsai. Let's have a round of applause for them. And Luke and Cecilia will take you on from here.
Thanks, Lance. Hi, everyone. Welcome in, and thank you to everyone who's joined us, who's watching on the live stream. My name is Cecilia Phillips, and I'm the coordinating producer and reporter for a little show that we do here called Check Please Bay Area. They've heard of it. I also do a little segment in there called Cecilia Tries It, where I taste and explore different off-the-beaten-path spots around the Bay.
And my name is Luke Tsai. I'm the food editor for KQED Arts and Culture, and I am also a lifelong boba enthusiast. And I assume that if you guys are here, probably a lot of you are fans of boba as well. That's what we're all here to celebrate, that wonderful, milky, creamy, sweet Taiwanese drink with those chewy balls known as boba. And so I assume, you know, if you're here, you know a little bit about the drink, but we thought that it would be fun to start off by kind of putting your knowledge to the test.
Question, how many people think that they are boba experts in the house? Okay, we've got 1 or 2. So we might have to do some explaining. So we're going to put you to the test. We're going to do a little quiz. We'll see how much you actually know. So we are going to put some of the questions up on the screen here. And we have our first question, and we want everybody to do this in a respectful, responsible way, so raising of the hands. The characteristic round balls or pearls in a typical boba drink are made from... Oh, well, everybody's excited, but we actually have the choices. There you go, and that changes things. 1, cassava root starch, 2, agar-agar powder, 3, sweet potato flour, or 4, glutinous rice powder. Oh, I see you have your hand up over there in the pink. If you wouldn't mind standing, we're actually going to have a microphone come out. One of the producers will get your answer. So what do you think that the characteristic round balls or pearls in a typical boba drink are made from?
Is it made from number 4?
Glutinous rice powder? That is incorrect. That is incorrect. I saw this hand right here, yes, with glasses. If you wouldn't mind standing, the producer will come and try to get your answer. We'll get the answer soon if we keep guessing like this, huh?
1, cassava root starch.
Yes, great job. That was it. That's the answer. It was 1.
Absolutely. And it was great that you got it. It was a little bit of a trick question, right? Because normally we think of these as tapioca balls, and they are made from tapioca starch. But what not everybody knows is tapioca is actually a starch that is extracted from the root of a cassava plant. So now you know.
They're learning some stuff. Okay, they're excited. All right, so let's go on to the second one. This Bay Area celebrity famously co-owns a boba shop in San Francisco. Is it 1, Hillsborough-based celebrity chef Martin Yan, 2, San Jose-based competitive eater Matt Stoney, 3, San Francisco rapper Larry June, or 4, Berkeley-born actor-comedian Andy Samberg? Oh my gosh, they're stumped. Oh, you in yellow, I saw your hand go up first. Oh, wait, 1 second, we have a producer, let's see.
I'm just guessing 3.
What, you just guessing? Have you heard the name Larry June before? No? No? Okay. This is interesting. Well, for a guess, you did a great job. Good job.
Yes.
That was the answer.
So yes, the correct answer is 3, Larry June, who is arguably one of the biggest names in Bay Area rap today.
Now you know.
And fans of his music know him for his lyrics about his love of orange juice and organic smoothies. So when he announced a couple of years ago that he'd be opening a boba shop called Honey Bear Boba in San Francisco's Dog Patch neighborhood, you can look it up, it actually felt like kind of a natural fit.
All right. Question number 3. Boba tea, as we know it today, was first served in Taichung, Taiwan in this year, and it first appeared in the US in this year. Is it 1, the 1600s in Taiwan and 1773 in the US, 2, the 1960s in Taiwan and 1985 in the US, 3, the 1980s in Taiwan and the late 1990s in the US, or 4, the early 2000s in Taiwan and 2011 in the US?
I think I saw that hand in the back.
You saw a hand in the back?
Yeah, gentleman.
There we go. All right.
Number 1. No, I'm just kidding. Number 3.
Number 3 is correct, yeah. So basically everyone acknowledges that Taichung, a city in central Taiwan, is the birthplace of boba, though there are actually a couple of competing shops that sort of claim that they were the ones who first invented the drink. But here in the US, boba actually came to California first. And so there are a couple of places that sort of make the claim of opening the first standalone boba shop. One of them was in a food court in Arcadia in Southern California. And the other one was Fantasia Coffee and Tea in Cupertino, which opened in 1997 and is actually still around. I know, are there any UC Berkeley alums in the house? So UC Berkeley was actually also an early adapter, and a few years back I remember doing an informal poll, and so Cal alum remembered getting boba at Sweetheart Cafe, which is in the campus's so-called Asian ghetto, and also a candy shop called Sweet on You, as early as 1996. And, you know, for those of you who guessed answer choice 1, December 16th, 1773 was, of course, the date of the Boston Tea Party. It was not a boba tea party.
Different tea party,
Yeah.
I like that. You stumped them. All right, question number 4. Which US-based mega chain recently started serving boba or boba-adjacent beverages? Is it 1, Starbucks, 2, Pete's, 3, Jamba Juice, 4, Dunkin' Donuts, or 5, all of the above? You here with the red and glasses, if you wouldn't mind standing.
Pete's.
Number 2, Pete's, was that your answer?
Yes, number 2, Pete's.
That is incorrect. You right here. Yeah, stand up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it Dunkin' Donuts?
That is also incorrect. We're gonna get the answer very soon.
Yeah.
Do 5, all of the above?
It is all of the
Yes,
above.
all of the above, and even more than that. And so, in fact, the first respondent, Pete's, was actually correct. And Pete's, I believe it was last year, introduced a brown sugar jelly drink topping last year. And some of you may recall it was actually called out by former San Francisco Chronicle food critic Soleil Ho as an act of cultural appropriation. Not because Asian-owned businesses are the only ones who are allowed to serve boba, but because a lot of times companies like Pete's, when they introduce these drinks, they do it as though they invented it themselves, with no acknowledgement that the fact that it was inspired by Taiwanese boba. And what I actually find interesting is that all of these companies that are listed up here that started serving quote-unquote boba don't actually serve the round tapioca balls that we're talking about. Instead, they serve jellies or what's known as popping boba, which is actually made from agar-agar. And I think that's probably because, as we'll see later on tonight, the real boba balls is actually very, very difficult to prepare well. So they don't try to do it.
I heard Sonic does a pretty good job, though. They those look, I don't know how they look. They look nuclear. That's an interesting look. Okay, so let's move on to the final question, which is, which of the following is not a boba trend that recently made an appearance in the Bay Area? Is it 1, salted cheese tea, 2, boozy boba, 3, boba grilled cheese, 4, boba fried chicken, or 5, boba hot pot? Oh, you raised your hand first. Only person. Very bold. Okay, which one is not a boba trend?
I'm just guessing, but boba grilled cheese?
That is incorrect. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. Yes, you there. What is not a trend?
Is it boba hot pot?
That is also incorrect. That is incorrect. You here, I'm gonna make Lance go through the crowd. You wanna stand up? Yeah, please. Which one is not a trend that made an appearance in the Bay Area?
I would say boba fried chicken.
Boba fried chicken is correct. Excellent job.
So this is not a picture of boba fried chicken, but this is in fact a picture of boba hot pot.
That's right.
Which is one of the trends that made an appearance in the Bay Area.
So yeah, so the answer is for boba fried chicken, and I just want to qualify that by saying that's at least to our knowledge. So someone out there may in fact be doing a boba fried chicken mashup, and if you are watching out there on the internet, please reach out to me and let me know, because I will try it and I will write about it.
We'll have to update the quiz
but
too.
yes, that means that all of these other items are real, including boba hot pot, which you see pictured here, which was the brainchild of a San Jose boba shop called Milk Tea Lab. And they came up with it as a way to provide a revenue boost during the winter months, when customers were less likely to want to buy an icy cold boba drink. And instead, as you can see pictured there, you would get your milk tea in a hot pot-like cauldron that everyone at the table would share, along with an assortment of syrups and toppings that you could use to customize each steaming hot cup. And yes, that also means that boba grilled cheese is a real thing. And I will just let this photo speak for itself.
That was my reaction when I saw this picture.
Courtesy of Riceful Onigiri in Berkeley. I believe it is currently off the menu, but if you go and make a special request, they may bring it back just for you. And anyway, I don't know if any of these are really so surprising, considering that boba pizza is also a real thing in Taiwan that some of you might remember went viral on the internet a few years back.
I like to think that these are olives instead of boba, and it seems a lot more appetizing that way. Have you tried any of these ones?
I have not tried it, but again, Bay Area restaurants out there watching on the internet.
That will be the next event.
If you put it on the menu, I will go.
All right, so, I mean, we can't have you do all that work and answer all those questions without giving out prizes. So for all the people who are actually correct, we have a prize for you this evening. This little thing here to the side is actually a reusable boba container. It has a glass straw and is a glass container made by Betty Boba. Betty Boba, are you here? There you are. Hi, everybody. This is Betty Boba. Thank you so much, Betty, for providing these for everybody. Betty makes these for all your boba needs. So if you want to go and have a boba somewhere and bring it and have it be sustainable, this is Mother Earth friendly. Betty has been kind enough to also offer a coupon code for anybody who wants to purchase one on her website. KQED Boba is the code to use at the website, and you'll get 25% off. So thank you, Betty. Lance will be handing out the prizes to the people who won, and if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, the people who got the answers correct. Sorry, we can't give one to everybody who got one wrong, but good job. So we'll hand those out. Good job. Congratulations. Give them a hand. All right.
Yeah.
So as they're passing out these awesome prizes, Luke and I were going to just jump in and start talking about boba. There's so much to discuss on this topic, but one of the things that we really wanted to do was kind of talk about the cultural impact of boba. But we can't do that without first explaining what boba is, right? So Luke, you're almost an expert on these topics in your experience with experiencing them and drinking them. Let's just talk about the basics. Tell me, how many people have never had boba in their life? Oh, we've got to change that for you. That will happen tonight. So it sounds like everybody else at least has had boba, but let's just describe, what makes boba boba.
Right.
It's not just those bouncing
It's
balls.
not just the balls. So usually, there's thousands of different variations, right? But the most basic version, usually when we're talking about boba, you're talking about black tea, typically, simple syrup to sweeten it, milk, ice, and then you have those large black tapioca balls. Everything gets kind of shaken together like a cocktail. You pour it into a cup, you seal it, and then of course you have those characteristic jumbo size, extra large straws that you poke through the top of it for sipping purposes. And of course the straws are extra big so that you can slurp up those tapioca balls while you're drinking. So that's the kind of basic version of it.
And I think it's also almost become like kind of synonymous with like the beverage, but there's other toppings too, right?
Yeah, sure. And we mentioned some of those popping boba, sometimes people like to get pudding on their drink. Sometimes people like to get grass jelly, So there's all different kinds of toppings that you can get. And as we alluded to earlier, it originated in Taichung. And it's just one of those things that was a sort of culmination of colonialism, because of course the idea of introducing milk to tea, or introducing dairy to tea, was kind of introduced by the British to China. I think this was back in the 19th century. And then in Taiwan, the innovation that a shop came up with was basically to serve that milk tea iced, as a nice, refreshing drink. Anyone who's been to Taiwan knows that those summers are brutal over there. So a hot tea is a little bit questionable choice sometimes, so you want that nice, refreshing, iced milk tea. And then the interesting thing about the boba is that my understanding and my research is that term actually came from a transliteration of boba, which in Mandarin is slang for a woman's large breasts. And so originally that was sort of like a sly reference to the very round and plump shape of those tapioca balls. So another little factoid that you can use at the next party that you go to.
The next boba hot pot you're enjoying. So one of the questions that I had was that it seems like the actual background of the drink itself is a little bit like a lot of great food trends, maybe a little bit lost in history, but there might be some stories behind where it maybe first originated, maybe by accident.
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit apocryphal, but there are a couple shops in Taichung that claim to have introduced it. First serving the milk tea, and then it's a little bit of a subject of debate whether it was on purpose that they put these chewy balls in the drink at first, or if it was just a sort of happy accident that happened. And so, some of that history will just have to be left to the imagination for now, because it's hard to confirm it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to take credit, obviously, at this point, for inventing the drink.
Yeah. So boba, this is more than just a tasty beverage. And what I love about the writing that you do for KQED, and I've been following your career, and you always infuse part of your own storytelling and a cultural aspect to what you do as far as your food reporting, which is so unique and an interesting perspective. And so I would love to hear more about the cultural impact that you feel that boba has had. It has a generational span, and it's very impacted your life. So what is the culture behind this kind of drinking culture of boba?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it is absolutely more than just a beverage at this point. And I think that particularly for Asian Americans, this is going back, 20 years at this point, 30 years almost. For Asian Americans in particular, it is kind of this marker of cultural identity, So I think that if you were growing up in the US in the early 2000s or 2010s, right? I think for a lot of Asian Americans in particular, let's say if you lived in a city that had a large Asian enclave, or even a little bit later on, maybe you lived someplace where there weren't a lot of Asians, and then in that case, the boba shop might have turned into one of the only sort of gathering places that was specifically catering towards you and your community, right? And so I think there are a lot of Asian Americans who will say, the boba shop was the place that they went after school to hang out with their friends. Or the boba shop was the place, like in high school or in college, where you parked at a table for like half the day, cramming for finals, right? The boba shop may have been the place where you went on a first date with your crush, right? The boba shop was the place where you went to get a snack after school. It was the place that played the music that you liked, right? Like maybe it was playing the K-pop that you listened to, or the Mando pop that you listened to. So I think that's why, you see a lot of this like boba pride. You see a lot of people who have various boba paraphernalia, boba logos on their clothing, and I think part of the reason why a lot of people feel so strongly about boba is that when they're thinking about boba, they're not just thinking about this drink that they happen to enjoy, but they're thinking about all those memories that they had associated with it.
Yeah, totally. I wore my boba shirt today. So I'm all about it. I understand it has had a big cultural impact around the world now at this point, but it is pretty amazing to think about how this beverage started and has kind of taken over some of these shops in the U.S., like something that you said you couldn't find, right?
Yeah.
Just a mere number of years ago. So how has this drink shifted in this phenomenal way? And it's specifically its impact on the Bay Area. How do you feel like this drink has made its mark in this area?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, one thing that we could say is that it's definitely no longer just an Asian thing, right? Especially as far as appreciating and loving boba goes. My kids are growing up in the Bay Area. They go to school here. Shout out to one of them who's in the audience today.
Zoe, hi. Zoe's here, Luke's daughter. You're going to be helping out, right?
Yeah, but my daughter, she goes to school. She has friends who come from all different cultural backgrounds. They're Latino, or they're they're African American. They're coming from all different kinds of backgrounds, but like everyone loves boba, right? And then I think for Asian American, this is one example that I think of. For Asian Americans in particular, it just strikes me how deep it's penetrated into our lexicon that now we have like a political slur, like an insult that gets used. I don't know how many people have heard the term boba liberal before. A few of you have heard of it. Some of you may have even been called that. I'm sure there's someone who's called me a boba liberal, right? But for those of you who haven't heard that term, it's a term that's sort of lobbed around as a pejorative against, or sort of by Asian Americans, sort of actually on both sides of the political aisle. I think people on the left sometimes use it as a term to talk about someone whose Asian American activism is just like very superficial, like it doesn't go beyond like, I love boba, I watch Crazy Rich Asians, I want more representation in Hollywood, but then like, maybe you don't care so much about the material conditions of like working class immigrants in your community, right? So that's like one way that it's used. I've heard people on the right use boba liberal as a kind of term for like an Asian American who just is like overly woke and listens to NPR too much, right?
Can't listen to NPR too much, but.
So either way, it's like a critique of someone whose like political and cultural identity is kind of maybe a little bit shallow and superficial. But even beyond like what it actually means, I just think it's so interesting and kind of cool that boba has gotten so big now and so mainstream that now instead of it being this like super niche thing, it's actually like a term that's making me reconsider like my own political philosophies, you know? And so I feel like, you know, yeah, boba, it's like worldwide, it's everywhere now.
I want to ask you, how do you feel about that? Like something that you said was kind of almost something more for you to have these experiences growing up in a place where maybe other folks didn't penetrate this like boba bubble, so to speak, that you had. What does it feel like to have everyone share in that now?
I mean, I think it's awesome, you know, and I think I'll just reference back to what we were talking before about like the Pete's cultural appropriation thing. I think that it's fine, like it's awesome that everybody loves boba right now and that like people don't think it's like this weird thing. And so it's normalized and it's cool, you know, and I think that's great. That's something I liked when I was a teenager. Now, like everybody else can also enjoy that. But I do think it's important, and I think that's part of us having this event tonight, that we do acknowledge the history of it, and we do acknowledge that it is a thing that was not invented in America, and that there are other people who are doing it better than we do, quite frankly, that we can learn from and that we can appreciate. Again, this very international thing.
Yeah. Well, we actually have 2 additional experts today who are going to chat with us even more about boba and their experiences. So please join me in welcoming David Lau and David Zhao. Thank you. Hello, welcome, both Davids.
Hello. Thanks for
so
having us.
Yes, we're going to be referencing you as David Z and David L. And David Z, you are from Urban Ritual.
Yes.
And you are from Asha Tea House, David L. And so I would love for you both to just give the audience just a little, bit about what you all do at your respective shops. You guys both specialize in things that are a little bit different and have a slightly different focus. So can you tell us a little bit about Urban Ritual, how you got started, and what you wanted for your vision of what your place was going to be like?
Okay. So actually, if you asked me 5-10 years ago. We started 5-10 years ago, but if you asked me then, if I would ever be doing boba, I would probably tell you no. I would have never pictured this. Before I used to actually work as a nurse, and then actually I ended up helping my wife with her boba shop, and ended up just kind of doing our own thing. So Urban Ritual kind of became this creative outlet for us. And so our drinks in general, I don't know if any of you guys ever had us before, but...
Anybody had Urban Ritual?
Yeah, so...
we have some fans.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, our drinks are very different. It's not your typical mom and pop shop. All of our stuff, some of it comes from my childhood. Some of it comes from just randomly trying out different techniques or just ingredients that we want to try and just kind of doing a spin-off from there. So a lot of our drinks, they have a bit of a twist to it. And so it's not really your typical kind of boba tea shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to follow up on that because you alluded to the fact that your wife also runs a boba shop, right? And that's a little unusual to have 2 competing boba shops within the same family. What's the name of your wife's boba shop?
It's Teaspoon.
And would you mind me? Some fans of Teaspoon in the audience?
Maybe more fans of Teaspoon.
Yep.
Would you mind me asking, in your honest opinion, whose boba shop is better, yours or your wife's?
It's ours. It's ours. Yeah, our dinner conversations are very interesting every night. Yeah, we're always coming up with different drinks, different just business strategies. It just never stops.
Yeah. Did you have a reason for choosing the name Urban Ritual?
We actually, yeah. So we didn't want it to be like a tea shop, like tea, whatever, right? Like we didn't want the name tea in it, so we kind of made it a little bit more difficult for ourselves, and we just kind of, along with like the rest of our brand, right? Like we just made everything difficult, and so we just kind of came up with that name. It was something that like I was born and raised here, so I grew up in kind of the urban city. And tea and boba was just kind of a ritual that we've had since we were kids.
Yeah. And David L., you actually do have a little bit more of a focus on tea. So can you tell us about Asha Tea House and maybe a little bit about why you got started doing what you did and how it kind of led to this boba experience as well?
Yeah. Just like David Z was saying, for me it was also kind of happenstance as well too. And I was working in China and really exposed to the tea culture there. But also I grew up drinking tea as well too and being exposed to that. But just really inspired by it and thinking that, we needed more places in America to introduce the crowd here to tea. And that's how I came up with Asha and decided to start that, just to sort of cultivate the love for tea in America by introducing people to different kinds. Yeah, so we have drinks that are globally inspired, like we have chai that comes from India. We have tapioca milk tea, that's a Taiwanese thing in origin, matcha, all these different kinds of teas. And then we also have a selection of artisan whole leaf tea as well too, from around the world.
Yeah, David L., we've talked about this a little bit in the past, right? But I almost think of Asha as kind of like a reluctant boba shop, in the sense that, even in what you just said, your sort of inspiration was really like, let's introduce the fine teas of the world to the Bay Area, right? And I suppose you may not have anticipated in the beginning what a huge part of your business boba would end up turning out to be, right?
Yeah, that's definitely a true statement. I think that our goal was to bring all these popular drinks from around the world, like masala chai I mentioned from India, and there's hojicha latte, matcha latte, and it just so happened that a lot of people wanted to have boba in them, and I think that's okay. It's kind of like because America's a melting pot, right? So that's a representation of that, and I think it's okay that people want to try things, that are a little bit different. Yeah, and that's just kind of the way it played out. So, but it's cool. People are trying tea, and that's our mission, is to get people to, be excited about tea and introduce them to it.
Yeah. We thought it might be interesting to hear from everyone about their, what Luke is calling their boba origin story, which is like your first memories of boba. Luke, I think that you have a pretty good, kind of story that you want to just talk about first and foremost.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's actually funny because I didn't think about this too much until I was preparing for this event, right? But even before we did that trivia, and if you look at that timeline, right, where boba didn't really come to the US until the late 90s, and that was really just in California. I was over on the East Coast. So it was probably like the mid 2000s, really, before we saw any significant boba shop presence there. So in some ways, I kind of grew up in a pre-boba era, especially in the US. Like there weren't really boba shops where I lived until well after I graduated from college. So some of those memories that I was talking about, like, those are false memories in a sense. Like those are not my memories in that, like, when I was growing up in like middle school or high school, I didn't hang out at boba shops with my friends. I never went on a boba shop date. And actually for me, boba was very much associated with summers that I would spend in Taiwan, which is where my mom's side of the family is from, and so for me, it was very much like summers in Taiwan, and starting from probably when I was like a preteen or a teen, I have memories of just being in Taiwan and like, oh, hey, let's go get this drink, that was already at that point very normal over there, and you were seeing it everywhere. And so it was, in a way, a sort of secret, special thing for me, that other Taiwanese American friends that I had knew about, and I could talk about it with them. But broadly speaking, friends that I had in the U.S., It just wasn't something that they knew about at that point in time.
But your experience was a little different, David, and I think we kind of said that maybe it might be a little bit of a age difference between the two of you.
I'm old. Yeah.
But also maybe a geographical difference. So like your experience was totally like almost opposite of that growing up.
Very different. Yeah, so growing up, like I just remember going to Quickly's when I was in middle school. We used to have the dollar boba, like taro milk tea, back before inflation and everything. And so we used to just go all the time. It was very normal. But also, I think it's probably more of a Bay Area thing in terms of that. I think growing up in the Bay Area, we never really felt like this was kind of a weird thing, or it was just very normal. And so we just had that all the time growing up.
Yeah, which I think speaks to the popularity and how quickly it's risen throughout, definitely our country in the United States.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were first?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm from here as well too. I'm from the suburbs between San Francisco and San Jose, and it was this. Yeah, well, we started to have more boba shops in middle school and high school, which was the 90s. I'm old too, but yeah, it's not like there were that many. There's a lot more now. But they were definitely around, and it wasn't super novel, I guess, yeah. But they were just starting to become popular.
Yeah. I'm from Sacramento, and I remember, I think it was like around college, having boba for the first time, and I was like, whoa, what is this? This is amazing. It was so good. Yeah. And it was at a tiny little shop somewhere, so it wasn't mainstream there as well, but it was definitely like bigger cities with like enclaves of people who obviously would be able to appreciate it and enjoy it. And it blew my mind. It was a great drink. This is why I'm here today. So
yeah. And David Z, you talked about how in the early days going to Quickly, right? And I think it was a lot of those like brands like that were just springing up everywhere. Do you remember when the scene started to evolve so that you had more of the quote-unquote craft boba shops of the kind that you guys ended up opening, when that started to be a thing in the Bay Area?
Yeah, so I think that was roughly around 2010. And the first shop that I really, really remember was actually Super Q. It's in SF. It used to be on Terraville. I don't know if anyone has ever gone, but Super Q was one of the first ones that I really remember to have kind of like this focus on tea and like boba and the quality, and just it became like a lot more technical. They used to use an espresso machine to brew all their tea, so they used to brew everything like single serve, and you used to get everything fresh. And that was kind of the earliest time that I remember of like just having very quality like tea and boba.
So we are going to be passing out. We've been talking about boba so much. We have to have a taste, yeah? So you've actually brought something very specific that you do for large crowds sometimes. So can you tell them what they're going to be tasting, the sample that you've brought?
Yeah, so this is actually a condensed version of one of our drinks. This is the condensed version of our creme brulee boba, like basically our creme brulee boba. And this one is actually going to be boba on the bottom with creme brulee pudding that we make in-house. And we're going to be demoing it later with like the torched sugar on top.
Awesome. And so they're actually getting a deconstructed version of this, and it looks delicious. Generous portion as well. So it's kind of like a sweet treat without the tea. We're also going to be having a taste of tea from you later as well. You've brought something, so we'll have you describe that in a bit. As you all are tasting, my recommendation, hold on to some of the balls and wait for some of the tea to come out so you can kind of try a little bit both. Oh, look, we get to do a little sample too. This is great.
Oh, nice.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Maybe we can even see if we can see what some of the flavor profiles people are getting out from the crowd. I think it's still being passed around, but for the people who are starting to try it, is there a particular way to eat this, like, like a wine connoisseur, like swirl?
No, not really. It's kind of your own adventure.
Okay.
You can mix it together. You can kind of take it in layers. It's really up to you.
It looks like you've also have you drizzled some syrup on top of it as well?
That would be the torched sugar.
Oh, so it kind of melts into it.
Yes. So in our store, we make this like a priority. So if you're ordering the creme brulee, we don't put it in until almost the last second. And that's because over time, it'll eventually kind of become like that.
Oh.
It'll melt.
It makes it look really beautiful too. So I'm curious to see some thoughts. Does anybody want to throw out, I haven't tried it yet, I'm going to, some of the flavor profiles that you're getting. What are you tasting? What stands out to you when you first took a bite? What did you like? I see a hand there. Just go ahead and stand up, and then Lance is going to come over and kind of get your thoughts. I'm just curious, what really stands out for you? This might be interesting for you to hear as well.
Yeah.
I really like how it's very creamy, and I like how there's boba on the side, so it's nice and chewy, and I really like the crispy stuff on the top.
Great. That was an excellent review.
I think that's all of it.
Yeah, that was everything. It sounds like maybe let's have one more. Let's see. You want to stand up? Yeah, there you go. Okay. We have a lot of youngsters here tonight.
I really like the crunch because it's not something that I've seen in a lot of boba drinks, so it's very new and very unique.
Look at that. This is great feedback, right? Market testing. Okay, great. So now we're actually also going to pass out some of the tea. So you're going to be getting those in a moment, but can you describe what you've brought today? Tell us the name and how it's made.
Yeah, so we have the Hong Kong milk tea that we serve at Asha, and it's one of our signature drinks. And it's basically 3 ingredients: our house Assam black tea, half and half, and condensed milk. So the condensed milk we make in-house, then we have half and half. And the black tea is an Assam black tea from India, and it's a custom blend that we source. And it's a very specific grade with a certain flavor profile, kind of to give that really strong, rich black tea flavor to complement the condensed milk. But in comparison to traditional Hong Kong milk tea, the tea that we use is technically a little bit more higher grade. And it's not that higher grade tea is better than lower grade necessarily, but it's just our take on it. So our version is a little bit more smooth. So those that have had Hong Kong milk tea in Hong Kong, they're familiar with a much more pungent, bitter flavor. Yeah.
So I'm curious, how do the levels, the grades, how are they determined? Like what makes a higher grade tea higher grade?
Yeah. So in India, this is really organized, and they have different grading systems. And without getting too technical, basically, some of the teas are more tippy, so they'll have more of the tips, which are more tender and delicate in flavor, and the tea plant's sending more nutrients to the tips of the leaves, because those young buds are the ones that are growing. So those are going to be the teas that have more buds are going to be higher quality.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And usually the earlier harvests as well too. So the spring harvest, the first harvest of the year, that's going to be higher quality tea because the tea plants have been dormant for the winter and they've been able to grow slowly and accumulate nutrients. Versus in the summer, tea plants grow really, really quickly and the leaves grow big and the flavor is just not as concentrated.
I learned all that stuff today. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you make your sweetened condensed milk as they're finishing up passing everything around? How's that done?
Yeah, it's just milk and sugar reduced down, basically, over a long period of time.
Cool. All right, so looks like everybody's got some stuff, and I'm hoping to see if people who are trying the tea, what kind of flavors are coming forth in the drink. What are we tasting? Anybody have a thought on the tea portion of it? Does it come out more earthy? Is it sweet? What are you getting from that first taste of this tea? Anybody? They're all contemplating it still. They're swirling. We got somebody? Okay, if you wouldn't mind standing up.
It tastes a bit like seaweed.
Seaweed. I wonder why, is there some earthy qualities to it? Is there like any salinity? Is that something, I mean, we kind of get those reviews in wine sometimes, right? Like these notes, is there any kind of connection that could be happening there?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually the first time that I've heard that, but everybody has a different taste of,
Yeah, things that come forward. Okay.
Buds, yeah.
Yes, so do you have, give us 1 second. I think that they might have a microphone for you, but go ahead and stand up.
I think it's very delicious and it's very elegant. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
think it's very delicious, and it's very elegant, and it's very smooth. So it just tastes very refined.
Okay, there we go. All right, awesome. Okay.
Refined seaweed.
We're going to have to add that to our description.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so you all have tasted these two amazing things together. We're actually going to show you how to make David Zhao's creme brulee boba drink. So we're going to see this in a demo. So let's head over. Luke is going to be doing color commentary on the side as I learn how to make this beverage, along with David L. So you have this all set up for us. So
yes,
we are going to show everybody if they want to get adventurous and try to make this at home, which they should definitely go to your shop. But if they want to make it at home, we're going to teach them how to do that. And you're
Sure.
going to teach me. All right, so what is the first step? Now, obviously, we've already learned that this beverage has multiple components.
Yes.
So we're going to be learning how to make each of the components today.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
So first we're going to start with the creme brulee pudding that we have in here. We can start with the egg yolk. I'm going to have you add this in.
All right, I will pour. Okay, so you've already taken off the whites here, and so this is just the yolk. How many yolk? And first of all, how much was this going to make? This is going to make 25 drinks, yeah?
This is going to make like around 20 drinks. So this is what we use in our store. And so if you want to scale down and kind of make it at home, then, you know, just know that this will make you like about 20.
Okay, so we've gotten the egg yolks in here.
Yep.
All right.
We
some
have sugar.
Okay.
We're going to add that in. We have a little bit of salt. We also have some vanilla extract.
Great. I've got a giant whisk.
Yeah, go ahead and mix that.
Okay.
So I'm going to switch with you.
Okay, great.
And what we have over here is we're going to have milk and cream.
Okay.
And when you're going to be making this at home, you want to have this actually heated. So this is going to be warm. And what we're going to do is actually kind of a technique. It's called tempering the egg yolks. So we're going to add in a splash. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to bring the eggs up to temperature. If you are doing this and you're using warm milk and warm cream, and if you add in everything all at once, you're actually just going to end up scrambling your milk. So you want to add it in a little bit at a time.
Yeah, and so it tempers it by getting the temperature to be correct, like matching the two without overcooking the eggs.
Yes.
Okay, great.
So we're going to do that, splash, and then we're just going to add in the rest. So half, and then the rest of that goes in there.
Okay, great.
We're going to give that one last stir. And we are going to transfer this. So this is the version that we make in the store, but obviously if you guys are in home, you guys are not going to have this. This is the half sheet pan that we use, and we're just going to pour everything into here.
Okay.
And then at the store, we just pop this into an oven with some water, some hot water, and that kind of keeps it. And we end up getting something like this.
Okay, so this is chilled, right?
Yeah.
How long did that chill for?
This actually chills overnight. So everything that you see, we make in store. Everything's just kind of like, it just rests overnight. We can't really use it right away because if you do, then it ends up being kind of runny. So you really have to let it sit overnight.
So this is set. So if they're making it at home, they definitely want to do this first, obviously, because this is going to take the longest time to chill.
Yeah.
So that's the pudding. So what's the next step?
So
I like how you're just getting to hang out. I got to do all the work over here.
Well, what I was going to say, David Z, is that's like a lot of pudding, right? Like
that's a lot of pudding,
big.
yes.
You know, how many people does that feed, you know, in terms of drink-wise?
That's about 20. So if you're going to be doing this at home, you can also do this in like small ramekins, and you can just put them in the layer of water, and you guys can just like pre-portion it out for yourselves.
Great. Okay, cool. So this is to the side, and then we have the boba.
Yeah, so this is raw boba. It just kind of looks like this. It's starch. All it is starch. It's water and caramel color. If you want, I mean, you can try it.
I can try it?
You can try it.
Go.
We usually haze our staff actually this way.
Oh my God.
So whenever we have a new employee, we just kind of give it to them. We're like, hey, try this. It's really good.
You told that part after.
Yeah, sorry.
So, I've never had raw boba before. That was
so it's not as good as the finished product.
No.
Yeah,
No,
so this is raw boba.
We literally did not plan this part either. That was not good. Okay, so obviously you do a lot of things to make it taste better. It's really dry. It basically almost just kind of crumbles in your hand.
Yes,
it's
you
really
can just squish
dry.
it. You can just squish it.
See if
It becomes like this.
Yeah, it's just dry.
David Z, like, you can buy this
You can
like
buy it.
anywhere. You could buy it probably at Costco. You could buy it at any Asian grocery store, right? So some people, how many people have made boba at home before? Quite a lot of people. I imagine, the results probably varied,
Right.
And, it seems like it kind of could be a tricky thing. What are some of your sort of pro tips of things to look out for or to avoid when you're making
Don't eat
your
it raw
boba?
first is the first one. But then after that, what do? Yeah, you mix it in water and
So you want to make sure that, first of all, you have a rolling boil, meaning that like when you're boiling it, everything is like bubbling. So you really want a rolling boil when you throw it in. The other thing too is that when you throw it in, you want to check on it. So we actually cook our boba for like about 45 minutes. And then we also let it sit for another 40 minutes. So it actually takes a long time. And actually your boba will kind of vary depending on the kind of brand that you buy or like the size that you buy. Not all boba is the same size. So we were just having this discussion in the back where like the boba that we actually use is a 2.5 millimeter or 2.5 centimeter, something like that. But other shops, they'll use like a 2.3, which requires like a shorter cooking time. But the point of it is like boba actually takes like a long time. So when you cook it, if you've ever gotten like cluster boba, we call it, like some boba that like you try to drink through the straw and it doesn't come up, it's probably because somebody didn't stir it during the cooking process. And if you've ever gotten like hard boba, it's probably because they're either undercooked, somebody pulled it like before it was supposed to be done, or it's just been sitting out for too long. If it's been sitting out for too long, the kind of like the texture of boba, it just kind of goes, the quality of boba goes over time. So it gets harder and harder as it sits. And so
what you want is kind of what you call it Q, yeah?
Q.
So describe that. That's like this chewiness, right?
It's soft on the outside and it's chewy on the inside. That's exactly what you want.
Okay, so we've taken this, we've gotten a rolling boil on our stove, we've put some boba in, and we've let it boil for about 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens after that?
You just let it rest. You just let it rest for another 40 minutes. Just don't touch it. Just give it one last stir, and you just don't touch it.
Okay, and then what comes out after that?
After that, you just kind of you just rinse it through some hot water, and you're just trying to get rid of the starch. It's kind of like all this extra starch that's around the boba. You don't really want that. You just want to be left with the individual boba pearl itself, and that's all you want.
Great, and so we have some, right?
Yeah. So this is boba that we made ahead of time. And this is the finished product. It gets its like black color from the caramel before. So before it was brown, but that's actually caramel, and that's what makes it dark.
See if we can pour out some so they can see. Oh wow, look.
Yeah, it's like a
Kinda
glob.
comes together.
So it's
Okay.
a little bit of globby just because it's been sitting for a little bit, but yeah. And this boba itself doesn't actually have any flavor to it. It has very little flavor to it. What actually gives its flavor is what you put into it afterwards. And this is where you can kind of become creative. So for us, we just add a little bit of raw sugar to it. So this is going to be raw sugar. We add a little bit, and we add honey. And this is what gives it its flavor.
Is this how you do your boba as well?
Similar, yeah.
Very similar.
We add sweetener to it as well. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so then what happens after this?
So after that, you just let it sit for about 15-20 minutes. So actually, pro tip, if you ever go to a boba shop that you guys like, don't go when they first open, because you actually want to go maybe like 5-10 minutes after, so that the boba's actually been sitting. A lot of times when we actually first open, it takes like an hour and a half to cook this, so we try to schedule our staff to come in like an hour and a half before, so it's done right on time.
And then if the boba sits throughout the day, is it still is it getting better? Is that still good?
It gets harder.
Okay.
So after every batch of boba, we actually just start another batch. So our boba never actually sits longer than about like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Ah, another sign of a really good boba shop, yeah?
Yeah, so actually if you ever go to a boba shop and they've run out of boba, it's because they have had to forecast like about an hour, hour and a half before. And like, let's say if you get a rush, right, then you run out, then you still have to wait for like another 45 minutes or like an hour or so. That's usually the reason why.
Great, so it takes a little bit of prep and some thought ahead. So thinking to the next step, we're gonna do the really fun part, in my opinion.
Yes.
We're gonna learn how to make the creme brulee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna set this, we're gonna turn this on, and we are going to pour in some, this is raw sugar, so same sugar that we use in our boba recipe. And what we're doing right now is we're making the torch sugar component to this. And all these things we kind of just make ahead of time and we assemble on the spot. It just makes it a little bit easier instead of like torching everything all in one go.
Oh, wow. And it's already starting to, so this is just a regular stainless steel pan?
Yes.
Okay.
This is just a pan.
Like a non-stick? Is this should it be a non-stick or does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. Actually, in the store, we use a pot because we make a lot. So we make a big batch of this.
Okay.
And so it takes quite a while. But for this one, we're just going to make a smaller batch.
Okay.
Just for you guys to see it. So this ends up becoming clumpy, and then it becomes liquid.
Okay, so it just sits just like this, just the sugar, and then it will become clumpy and liquidy. Okay.
You'll want to mix it so that it doesn't burn.
Okay.
So yeah, you want to.
Oh, God.
You'll want to mix
that right now. There we go. Okay, this is good. Good.
Yeah.
All
so
right,
this
I'll
was
keep going.
in about a minute or so. You should start to see the clumps starting to form.
Oh, in a minute. Okay, that's pretty fast. And it's on high right now?
Yeah, this is on high.
Okay.
This is actually called a dry method. There's two ways of we're essentially making candy right now. And this is a dry method. So we're not using any water. We're just using just the sugar itself. And this should end up melting very soon. You should start seeing it.
Oh, it is. Okay, so I'm going to tilt it in just 1 second.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to see some of the individual sugar crystals starting to clump up.
Yes.
Okay, and
that's
then
exactly what you want.
When will we know when to pull it?
When your ancestors tell you to stop.
What if your ancestors never made creme brulee before?
Around 300. Around 300 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay, got it. All right, okay. So I'm going to tilt this, listening to my ancestors.
So yeah, you'll see that it's actually starting to clump right now.
Do you all see it?
You'll see that some of the sugar is actually melting. That's exactly what you want.
That's a quick process.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so after another minute or so, it should become liquid.
Okay. Yeah, some of it is starting to melt. It is getting a little bit harder to stir too, so that's interesting. It's kind of clumping a little bit, and you probably have to move kind of fast so it doesn't burn, right? Like
yes,
you said? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, so the first process is a little bit, it's a little bit slow, but it makes it really fast.
Watching Luke over here as I'm stirring my arm off. Very warm as well. Okay, so
Do you want to sub me in, Coach?
No, I want to do this now. I'm determined to make this. Okay.
And then what we have on the side too, just as a side note, is we have another pan. We're gonna end up pouring all that liquid into this pan because this is actually only 80% of the process.
Oh, okay.
We're only going to be liquefying the sugar, but that actually doesn't give it the creme brulee its burnt torch flavor. So to finish it off for the last 20%, we're actually going to torch it.
Okay. So are we getting close here?
Yes.
Okay.
We're getting very close.
I mean, not that I'm not enjoying myself, but okay.
So this is about right. So you should see that it's pretty much liquid now.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can just pour it here.
All right, here we go.
Yep, and then let me find the torch. Yeah, you can just spread it out. There you go. That's great.
It's actually live. Much scarier when you have the actual fire going. Is this off?
Yeah,
okay,
it's off.
Okay.
It's off.
Catch my hair in there. Okay, here we go. All right, great. So I did that part.
So what we're left with is this sugar. We're just going to spread it out just a little bit just to even it out. And then we're going to take this, and you're just going to go across. So we're aiming for, right now it's a light brown, and we want to get a darker brown.
Okay.
You ready?
All right, here we go. So turn this.
Yeah.
All right, it's on. Okay. Wait. Oh.
There you go.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Woo!
Perfect. So you're just going to go across.
Okay.
You can get a little closer. Yeah, so if you aim, concentrate here, and then just move slowly. So you can be a little closer. You can actually be a lot closer.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay, so basically what I'm seeing above is that little tiny bubbles are starting to form.
You can actually, so if you concentrate just on this spot, you'll see that the color changes. That's what you want.
Okay, I'm gonna, whoa.
Yeah.
So around the edges, it's starting to get really dark and brown.
So that's what you want.
Okay.
Yeah. This brown is the color that you want.
Okay.
And when we make it in a larger batch, essentially what you're doing is you're just torching the top layer So the bottom layer doesn't actually get torched. So you're only torching about, I don't know, like 30% of this.
Like a traditional creme brulee.
Yeah. And that's going to give it this actual burnt flavor. And this is usually the most fun part.
It is fun. It is a little scary, but the color is changing and it's starting to get a really caramel dark color on the sides.
Yeah, so this is perfect.
This is good?
Yeah. And then you just turn it off.
Okay, there you go.
Okay to do this at home or
thank you.
I mean,
do you need to disable your
smoke alarms?
You should probably, yes, do this under the oven or something where you have a fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we've got it here, and so but now it's still liquidy, right?
It's still liquid, so
Okay.
you let it cool down,
Okay.
and then after maybe 20, 30 minutes, you'll just let it cool, and it'll become like this hard candy.
Okay.
And you can just throw this into a food processor and blend it up.
All right.
And then what you end up with is little pieces, kind of like this.
Great.
And this is exactly what went into the creme brulee too. So this is what we throw in on top.
Okay, so I think now it's time to assemble our drink, right? Yeah. We've got all of our components. We have our pudding, we've got our boba.
Yes.
We've got our creme brulee.
Cool.
All right, and so you have some cups.
So we have some cups.
All right, so let's set these out here.
Okay.
Your classic urban ritual cups.
Yep.
All right, so we start with boba?
Yep.
Okay.
We have boba. I'm going to... we're actually going to use that one.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a slotted spoon.
Yep, we got a slotted spoon. We're going to do 1 scoop each.
Okay.
Into each cup. So 1 scoop each. And then we're going to do 1 scoop of the creme brulee pudding.
Okay, should I use this little spoon here? Okay,
that's
great.
perfect.
Move this over.
I'm going to grab ice.
Wow, this is really creamy.
Yeah.
Look at this.
You can grab the cup.
Right in here?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is so rich. This is like a decadent drink, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, okay.
And then we're going to add a little bit of ice to each of these. And we are going to add milk. Do you want to top it off?
Yes, okay. And then do you like test out the perfect ratio of stuff to find out how much boba and pudding and milk is like the perfect amount?
Yeah, so when we first started recipe testing, my fridge was just completely full of creme brulee pudding.
That sounds nice.
It sounds nice until you have to eat it. And so after that, yes, I mean, this has been like a 4 or 5 year process, and every time we've always like kind of either played with it or just kind of adjusted it, but this is what we've ended up with. And so at the very end, we add in our torch sugar on top, and this is basically our drink.
And I knew you were the perfect matcha all oolong.
Yes, cheesy.
And so then we top with a bamboo straw here, thinking of the environment and the impact. These are going to be compostable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so this is how we make your urban ritual creme brulee pudding drink, right?
Yes.
And then
I'll take one. Yep.
You can give yours to David.
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, all that. This is great. And we have this.
Yep.
And there's one for me, and there's one for you.
Oh.
So. All right. You can get it. That's I guess you've probably tried it enough, right? Okay, that's fine.
Leave Luke out.
All right, so that was a great little demo on how to make the beverage, and I think Luke, we have just a couple more things to kind of chat with them about. Let's kick it off with a couple more of the kind of cultural things that we wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I mean, earlier Cecilia and I were talking sort of at the top of the event just about that sort of cultural impact, and how boba is actually something that means more to people than just a drink, right? It's about community, it's about nostalgia, kind of all these things. And I was just wondering if either of you wanted to speak to that a little bit, either for yourself personally or just for the people who come to your shops, if you've seen signs of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah, I can go. Yeah, like I mean, growing up, even till now, like we still get boba. Like we always get, we call it like boba run, right? Me and my friends, like when we have time, we still get boba, and it's weird because we make boba. So like, but the weird part is for me, like I don't crave boba when I'm working, but once I get off, I'm like, oh, you want to get boba? It's become such a social aspect in that sense, and it's also kind of interesting too because now I feel like when we first started, there was a lot of educating on like what boba was, and now I just feel like there's less and less of that. Like it's become more of a household thing where people are they just know about it, and we're starting to see like a lot more than just like Asian Americans coming in, just kind of getting boba. It's just become more of a widespread thing.
Yeah, and speaking about it from the tea aspect, I think boba and tea, like obviously it's synonymous, I think almost now, whereas not, you know, like when people think of tea, they think of like, oh, Chinatown, some austere tea shop, you know, and like somebody pouring tea over a table and tasting. But most of the mainstream in America, I think they know about tea as boba. It's almost synonymous. It's like, oh, tea, boba, right? Yeah. So I think that it's kind of like coffee in that sense. You know, coffee is about community. It's about a third place, meeting, socializing. So I think that's become the same way with boba as well too.
Yeah, and I just want to say too, something that I've noticed, especially recently, is that boba has really become this pan-Asian sort of phenomenon. That's not like, while it may have originated as a Taiwanese thing, now it's like, especially for Asian Americans, it's like cross-cultural, right? And I think you see that especially in the diaspora, you know, and you see that in the Bay Area where you have, like if you go down to San Jose, you have Vietnamese boba shops, like specifically, right, where they do like the regular kind of boba drinks, but then they'll also have Vietnamese specific flavors like pandan or durian, you know, and so you see kind of the boba world expanding in that way, you know, and recently one of the shops that we covered on KQED was this new Thai boba shop called Dek Doi Cafe that opened on Piedmont Avenue in Oakland, which you all should check out if you have a chance. But what was so interesting about that is that, I mean, it's a Thai boba shop, which of course boba doesn't originally come from Thailand. But the reporter who wrote the story, it was so interesting. They were talking to the owner, and they talked about how what they really want to serve were kind of these interesting Thai specialty dessert drinks and Thai desserts. But there's a much more limited market for that in the US, even in the Bay Area, right? Where if you say, like, here, I serve regional Thai desserts, that might not get everybody excited, you know, or might not have as wide an audience. But if you open a boba shop, you know, and I think it just goes to show, like, that's so mainstream now that now actually you have other kinds of dessert businesses opening under this umbrella of boba, because now boba is this name that everybody recognizes and everybody loves, you know, and I think that's actually a cool thing.
Yeah, we are getting close towards the end of our event, so I just wanted to ask like one final question. You know, you both have awesome shops that you know have started, but is there businesses that you admire, people that are in the boba game that are really pushing the envelope, so to speak? Is there other places that you admire, shops that you've seen come up?
Yeah, I told Luke this a while ago, that, or just recently, that one of the game changers for me was when I had this place called Chun Shui Tang in Taiwan. So it's not like a local place, but it's a Taiwanese place, and they were supposedly the birthplace of boba, the first ones to put tapioca pearls in a drink. And growing up, going back to Taiwan, when I visited family, I didn't really seek out boba that much, so I went to the local places, and there wasn't really a place to sit down. The quality was okay. It was pretty sweet. But when I went to this place, then, you know, it was more of a tea house and more of a place where you could sit down and gather and socialize. And the quality seemed to be a little bit higher and more elevated. Yeah.
Thank you both so much for kind of bringing your own experiences to this. Luke, was there anything that you wanted to kind of summarize about this whole thing and what you want people to take away from the event?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love the shout out to Taiwan, you know, and I think obviously we can't all go there, but if you have a chance to experience tea culture over there, I think that's one thing I would say. You know, we have boba culture in the U.S., and I am so excited to see the way that shops like Asha and Urban Ritual have sort of changed the game and sort of upped the level. For a long time, I think people would say you can't get good boba in the U.S. You know, like boba in the U.S. just doesn't compare. And I think now you see there are shops in the U.S. that are definitely doing their own take on it, and also doing it at a really high level. But at the same time, you know, like one of the things I was thinking about is how here in the U.S. we talk about boba, and like we're just talking about like those pearls, right? And we're so focused on the toppings. And I think if you go to Taiwan, for instance, like I was just there this fall, and there's like a boba shop on every corner, but people don't even call them boba shops. Like in Mandarin, like the term that they use is just like, oh, it's a drink shop or it's a tea shop, right? And over there, people are so much more focused, like they might not even get toppings in their drinks, you know, and it's just focused on the flavor of the tea itself and of the drink itself. And so I just think there's so many dimensions to this. Like, you know, you can have boba without the boba, right? And then you can have boba that has, I mean, look at this thing, you know? I mean, this is outrageous to me. I can't wait to dig into it, you know?
I'm so excited too.
But yeah, so that's what I would say. Like, it's a multiverse of boba, and you know, I think that it's our great honor and a gift to us that we can sort of go out and experience it all.
Speaking of which, where can they experience both of your shops? How can they find you?
You go first.
Oh, you mean like social or?
Just if you want to hang out with David at some point. No, where can they find your drinks?
We're in SF, San Mateo, and San Jose. You can find us on Instagram as well. Urban Ritual Cafe.
Awesome. And Asha?
Yep, and we have 3 stores as well. We're in Oakland, Berkeley, and San Francisco. So we're by BART stations, so downtown San Francisco, uptown Oakland by the 19th Street station, and then downtown Berkeley. Find us on Instagram, find us online as well too, ashateahouse.com. You can order our whole leaf tea there, and we'll ship it across the nation.
Awesome. As if that wasn't enough, you all should have gotten tickets at the start, yeah? Probably wondering what those are for. You have brought more drinks for them to have in the lobby. So what flavor did you bring that they can enjoy as they're leaving and mingling and talking boba with each other?
We also brought a Feed Me Ube. That's an ube creme brulee, so different variation on the creme brulee that we made.
More sugar.
Yeah. With taro chunks, coconut milk, and rice milk.
Okay, awesome. So they can use their drink tickets to either get one of your beverages, or District Tea, who could not actually be here on stage with us tonight, has also brought additional tastes for you to try. So you can use your ticket to either get one of those beverages, or you can try one of these sweet potato lattes, a jasmine milk tea that they've brought, or a strawberry matcha boba drink as well. So there's those options out there. The one ticket will get you one drink. You know, everybody mingle, try to get one that you like and enjoy, but all of them are delicious. So, you know, there's one for everyone out there. And Asha, David, you're gonna have a table for your Asha supplies as well?
We'll have some merchandise if anybody's interested. Yeah, and some teas as well too.
Some things to check out. Can you all please join me in thanking them both for coming? Thank you. And I want to thank all of you for being here. We love to do these KQED live events, and it takes all of you coming to be a part of it, to create this experience and do all of this. We have more events all throughout the year. The next one that's coming up is called Radio Lab. It's going to be on April 20th and April 21st. You can find that and other events online at kqed.org/events. Finally, a big thank you to the booth. Thank you for running the show for us. A big thank you to Betty for bringing your your wares for us to share as prizes. And a big thank you to our production team, Lance Gardner for putting on this event, Ryan Davis, and all of the live event staff. And finally, thank you, Luke, for your amazing contribution and writing to KQED and for bringing boba to the front and center of what we wanted to talk about today. So thank you. I hope you all enjoy the drinks in the lobby. And for you, your first time boba, take some pictures, okay? Post it. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Enjoy.
Yeah. And a huge round of applause for Cecilia, also our fearless leader. Thank you.